Hey guys, it's Syama here, CEO of Scaling Retail, and I am super excited for our next live one-on-one session. We are going to be speaking with Rhonda from Redemption Market, which is going to be exciting. Redemption Market is an ethical boutique. Every product supports a cause. What I think is so wonderful about sustainable and ethical brands is obviously not only is it good for the planet, but there's just so much in terms of market share, and also desire from the industry at large to see businesses moving in that direction. So as far as how we're looking at movement, I think that's great. So Rhonda looks like she's here. All right, let's get her up and running. All right, Rhonda, hi, how are you?
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to
Oh
be here.
my God, I'm super stoked to have you. How's your week going?
Oh, good. And I'm such a fangirl of everything you do. I'm always watching all your videos. So it's
So you've
exciting to
seen all my bad hair days. You've seen when I'm like can't be bothered to like wash my face.
Hmm.
I
I'm here
appreciate
with you.
that.
I'm here with you.
How the hell are you doing? How's life been? This whole week has been like last 2 weeks in the I mean, okay, last 6 months in the world has been insane. The last 2 weeks has been like even
Yeah,
more crazy. How are you managing?
it's good. I feel like, it's just you have to look at every day by itself, not think of the year as a whole or what's to come, and
Yeah.
just figure out what day it is and go with that.
So what day is it today?
I'm thinking Friday.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love that. That's so awesome. It is, I think it is Friday. So I think it's super cool what you're doing, and I love that your heart is in the right place. Please give our audience just the 30 seconds of you, because really today is kind of about like problem solving. So, this is a problem solving conversation, but let's tell people a little bit about the problems that you're solving and a little bit about where your heart is these days.
Sure. So my business, like you said, is an ethical boutique. And the goal is that every product would either be directly supporting a cause, working with some kind of social justice mission, supporting a small women-owned business,
Mhm.
ethical, sustainable, fair trade. That's kind of the business. We started definitely as just really small. It was kind of a hobby. So I'm wanting to take this from a very small local level and kind of expand it a little bit. That's what I'm thinking today. And just we started around a cause. So working with women rescued out of trafficking. There was an organization looking for a partner. And so I started with selling jewelry and handbags that supported this mission,
Mhm.
and kind of grew the business around that. So I didn't set out to start a business. It was, I want to support this cause. And then the business grew around that, and the website
Mhm.
grew that. So
And now it's like, oh shit, I have this business.
the business, yeah. And I have three daughters who are now college age. So the past couple of years has been very much part-time being mom. Our youngest was adopted as a 10-year-old. And so just kind of getting her integrated and everything.
Mm.
She was from Peru, and I used to be a Spanish teacher, so kind of staying home
I
and doing
love
that.
Peru. Where in Peru is she from?
She was actually from the jungle, so she was from a
Wow.
tribe in the jungle, and then as a young child, she had to go to the city for medical care and ended up
Mm.
orphan. Long story, but
Yeah.
uh, definitely beautiful, beautiful part of our family. And because I taught Spanish and I was a teacher at the time, I quit teaching to kind of get her. She knew no English at all, and just kind of get her up to speed. So I was kind of just really
Beautiful.
part of my business and doing
Yeah.
these things, and pop-up shops. So we have three different kind of streams of revenue. We have pop-up shops. We are every week at a downtown, it's a farmer's market and then also artisan market. So
Hmm.
that's every week, but it's shut down for me right now since
Got it.
March. Not doing that at all. And then other pop-up like traveling flea markets we've been part of. And then we have a shared retail space in Scottsdale. And
Okay.
then the online store. So obviously, in-person sales have been really slow during this time. The store is open, but it's slow. Phoenix in the summer is slow anyway because
Sure.
it's hot here. And then the online sales have really grown during this time. So we've kind of been in the background. I've been working on it, but it hasn't been a main source of income.
Got it. So given that you now have this brand, which you didn't plan on, which is super rad, but given that you have this brand, what do you want to do with it? And I don't mean that in the short term. So like, I always find the easiest thing in any business is to say like, okay, well, you want to get this thing done. Here are the 10 things you need to do in order to make that happen. So I'm less
Right.
concerned about the operational component of it in terms of like your vision for where you want this to go. What do you want this to be, and how do you want to be in relation to it? Who are you to the business?
Yeah, so that's interesting you asked that because that's kind of what I've been wrestling with. I would love to have, I don't know if you're familiar there in California with the Shop Pigment or the Little Market, but these are that will have a couple locations locally that are just beautiful, beautiful local stores. I want a really great job with having a couple local stores that are well known, and then have the online component that has a regular, it doesn't have to be massive, but just a regular amount of sales coming in. So a consistent amount of sales coming in. We definitely have a desert theme to our store because it's grown around our local community. Southwest deserty feel, and I don't know how well that appeals to a wider audience, but it definitely here.
Got it.
So yeah, that's kind of what I would see. I've always grown organically up to this point, and that's worked well for me. I don't want to spend 80 hours a week and scale huge. That's not my goal.
Got it. Okay. So, and as far as who you are to the business, right? So, obviously when you're a small company, you are, CEO and assistant and this thing and that thing and buyer and all the things.
Yeah.
As far as kind of where you see, I think your kind of plan for growth, or how you're envisioning it, that sounds very cogent. But who are you to the business in the process? So meaning, is this one of those things where you're like, okay, I'm at a place in my life where I actually see myself owning this business for the next 20 years. And this is really fun and interesting. And I want to be the CEO and I want to hire out a strong team. Is it more like, I want to do this until, for the next 5 years? Or is it like, okay, I have these products I'm selling. I want to see this like expand. I want to focus on the buying and the creative and hire someone. How do you see your core competency and skill set in the context of what you need to grow this business?
Yeah, so right now I'm a solopreneur. It's me doing everything. I really haven't hired anything out. I haven't needed to based on where I am. I am not super excited about being the face of the brand where it's very personal and I'm always on live telling stories. That's not really me. Like this right now is just pushing me way out of my comfort zone. Just being live and it's a struggle, but I know it's important. So I don't necessarily need to be the face of the brand. I'm willing to hire. I'd love to see more of what we're doing, where we're helping these different organizations that support women. It looks like. I love my company. I'm not interested in setting it up to sell right now, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, of course. And I don't know if it's necessary. Some people, will never want to sell their business, right? They just want to own it and operate it. And there's no right or wrong answer, right? The reason why I'm kind of trying to get the lay of the land is, the next series of questions that you're going to ask me about what you should do or not do, or like whatever you're going to ask me is going to have to be based on what you actually want, right? So it's almost like the things that I always believe in, right? It's like there's you as the business owner, the visionary, there's like the market and where the market is heading, and then there's your capital resources, which are like cash,
people, everything you have access to kind of help you run it. And so ideally, you're kind of like triangulating everything, right? And you're kind of getting everything together. So you need to match your core competencies with a market-friendly business model and then the right inputs to kind of like go there. That's why I'm asking all these questions. Okay, now it's time for you to ask all of your questions.
Yeah, so I guess for me, I would like recommendations on it. I am small right now and I've been very successful in person. So anytime I do a market, a pop-up, so successful, all different types of areas. How do I translate that experience to my website so that someone coming in from the outside knows can get a sense of it?
Great. Are your customers who are currently shopping from you online still domestic to you, like local in your neighborhood? Is it mostly like local people that shop from you online, or where are they mostly based?
I would say probably about a fourth are local, and then the
Oh,
rest from all over
all
the state.
over. Got it.
Mhm.
Have you done things like virtual private selling appointments?
No, I haven't.
Great. So here's the thing that you're going to have to step into is in order for you, and it's very popular now and just happens to be timely to get good at this thing, which is getting front and center in front of people. And especially given that it's interesting because you're in advocacy, though it's kind of layered with like selling product. It's very social enterprise, right? It's like, it's very advocacy driven, people driven, planet driven, but couched kind of in, in selling goods. And part of advocacy is using your voice and kind of using what you have. And so getting comfortable with sharing, I would say, your platform and your messaging and who you are, I think is important, right? So and how big is your newsletter right now?
2,500.
Okay, great. And how often do you send out a newsletter?
Probably every 2 weeks.
Perfect. Okay. So it's great. You're doing all the right things, right? So as far as like how you're thinking about your own, as far as how you're thinking about your own kind of communication strategy,
Hmm.
what I love so much about your Instagram is that it's beautifully curated, right? It's like, it's very pretty. But you are not a part of it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Right. It doesn't mean that it has to be you as a influencer, right? You don't have to build up some kind of, I'm XYZ. But I do think if you would like to start to bridge that relationship component, because what's interesting about experiential for you is the you part, right?
Hmm.
It's like if you're the person who's out there selling your goods, I
Hmm.
imagine that no one is speaking with the same amount of passion or purpose as you are when you're speaking about your goods. Am I right?
Right. Right.
I could be wrong. If I was wrong, you should be like, no, actually, I suck and I don't do it, and it's someone else, and like we need to get that person to do it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm assuming it's you. I'm assuming
Okay.
that you're the one who's kind of out there speaking passionately. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So if that is the case, I don't think you need to do Instagram lives. I don't think you need to like get people behind the scenes of your home. But I do think that um, your values, right? Who you are, kind of just, having a post that introduces you to your community and kind of why this is important, and maybe announcing some Zoom shopping experiences, right? Things like that, that I think can actually give you an opportunity to connect, not in kind of a I'm on video and you're listening to me, but in a way where it's like we're having a conversation, right? This is different than you just watching one of my videos, right? Like we're actually getting to know each other, and that creates a bond, right? And that creates something that has impact. So
Right.
I would say with your social media following, with your newsletter following, you know, start by like introducing yourself. I would say on your newsletter sequencing, your very first email, like your autoresponder, should
Mhm.
be like, welcome to Redemption Market. Like
Right.
I'm Rhonda. Like here's here's who I am, right? And
Right.
your first newsletter should be about that.
Mhm.
Um, I also think that you need to have a newsletter pop-up kind of call to action on your homepage of your website. And it needs to be, 10% off. It just, you need to convert more people because we need to basically get your voice and who you are in front of more people.
Okay.
So I think we need a newsletter. I think we also need to then set up with you can use Calendly or you can use another appointment setter. But if people want to kind of learn more about your brand and if people want to shop from you, you should give them a chance to do that.
Okay.
What's really interesting is not everyone's going to sign up for it, but the fact that you've made yourself available gives accessibility. And there's something about the accessibility that's going to make you feel more real. And people want to buy shit that feels real, right?
Yeah.
It's like right now we're in this world where you don't know what to count on. You don't know who to trust. I mean, it's like there's so much instability and uncertainty. And so, when it feels real and you're like, this is a person and I can interact with them, like that goes a long way. So I think that's super important. Now, as far as like your assortment and your products, right? I gotta say, it's a little random. Like, I don't see a lot of cohesion here. It feels a little like it's not. If all of your products were in a little storefront, I could see how you would merchandise it. Right. So I can see the like physicality of it and like cohesion in a physical space. Your digital user experience does not translate what I imagine your in real life experience is. And
that's what I'm trying to figure out, the product mix that works well in my little retail space or in a pop-up is just what I put on the website. But on the website, does that come across as random? And how do I change that?
You need to think about your website as more of like a digital experience, as like almost like because your products are not like, and then we saw all of this thing, and then we saw all of that thing, because it is so kind of curated and kind of, I don't know what the right word is. It's like, it's unexpected. You're like, oh, there's this surprising thing and that surprising thing. Like, I would almost say like rethinking your entire user experience, where it's like, I would want to have a very clear statement on the front, almost like, like Redemption Market, like your tagline is like a curio of like, objects that are inspired by blah, 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 right? Like you kind of need an umbrella tagline here for people to understand what they're walking into. And I think that will be very helpful. And then I also think, you can do simple things, right? Like use a different template, like re-merchandise kind of the site. But I think what's missing here is the fact that you're doing something good is there, but the why, like the umbrella, the curated merchandising. Like, I know when I go to Redemption Market, I'm going to be able to find and it doesn't have to be a product. It can be like, I know I'm going to find unique objects or unique things that are supporting XYZ causes, right? Or I know that I'm going to be able to. So I think that is kind of the most important thing, is we start to build a little bit more of a reason why people are shopping with you, and that they know kind of specifically how to be able to tell their friends. So imagine if someone was like, oh yeah, like, where'd you get this gift? Oh, I got this gift, here and here. Well, I would actually want to be able to say like, okay, well, if I got this gift here, well, how do I describe the store that I shopped from?
Yeah. So to take off of that, it's kind of, some friends have said, oh, this is like an ethical anthropology. Okay, that's kind of, that's a stretch, but that's kind of the concept. So a gift shop with interesting and different type of things. Is it that I have so few items per category, or do I need to set up my shop by category? So there's the children's
No, you could set it up by merchandising themes. So you
Okay.
need themes. You don't necessarily need traditional categories. So if you wanted to do something that was all around like, I don't know, I'm trying to like, I mean, I want to say something like going out, but like who the hell's going out right now? But like for example, right?
Mhm.
And it was like uh, cute things to kind of throw in your bag, right? Or like objects that are going to make your life easier, right? Things like that, right? Where it's like you would click into that category and then you would find objects that are going to make your life easier. So maybe it's the coin purse, right? That's going to make your life easier. Maybe on your, a way to kind of easily glam up your Zoom call might be this, beaded leather cuff, right? So there are merchandise themes that don't necessarily have to fall into traditional categories.
Yeah. So I've noticed that other ethical shops, similar to mine, would do by cause or by,
Don't do by cause.
no?
I wouldn't do it by cause. And the reason why I wouldn't do it by cause is not a reason to shop. By
Mhm.
cause kind of validates the purchase after you've already decided you wanted it.
Right,
So
right.
the
And that's
fact, yeah.
the point. But is it just reorganizing my site then according to
Well,
gift
we need
aid?
to plan, yeah, like I think we need to plan out like your merchandising strategy. So like
Mhm.
what is the point of view? How often are there new things? Like what is the
Mhm.
total amount of products you want? What does your inventory positioning look like? I mean, there's a whole host of like merchandising, inventory, sales planning stuff, right?
Mhm.
So it's not to say that you don't have enough product or that you have too much. It's more that it doesn't feel intentional. So,
Okay.
like, if you want to keep, I'll give you an example. If you want to keep a site that's very curated and tight,
Mhm.
what you'll likely do is build a bigger brand narrative story so
Mhm.
that each of those products feels very intentional,
Mhm.
right?
So it's a collection, or like this is the spring collection, these 10 pages of items like that?
Well, no, more like narrative. So like here, let me tell you more about these brands, right? Let me do like editorial or like, kind of write-ups about why this point of view, right? So you're kind of building brand narrative around, you're building like stories, like if it's small number of products, you have to tell bigger stories. If
Mhm.
it's, a big number of products that you're selling, you tell stories that are kind of stories that are going to help to make it easier to navigate those bigger groupings of products,
Mhm.
right? So unfortunately, it's not like a it's not like a and then you do this
Yeah.
thing and then you're done, right? A lot of it has to do with where you want the assortment planning of your business to move into. So as it stands today, right?
Mhm.
Like on your site, there are 10 pages of products, right?
Mhm.
I wouldn't know how to like navigate them other than by the category kind of drop down, right? Handbags, clothing, children's bracelets, which is pretty standard, right? You're like, oh, I'm going to filter by this. There
Right.
isn't also a ton of content that's kind of interwoven, right? So you have a journal section, right? But
Mhm.
the journal section, I would say, could also be kind of tied further back into um, the products that you're selling, the stories of those brands,
Okay.
maybe even like editorial notes and things that you are, um, why you love this product, so
Mhm.
it kind of ties it back into the you part of this. And then I might also throw up at the top like a personal shopping experience and let
Okay.
people kind of directly, kind of get to hear your journey and experience and get to shop with you. Um, but the short of it is like we need a more focused merchandise direction, even if it is, sustainable anthropology. Anthropology has a lot of SKUs, right? So do you want to be sustainable anthropology, or do you want to be a niche curated, small shop, right?
Mhm.
If so, what are the breadth of categories that you actually want to continuously carry? And what's the
Mhm.
criteria? What are the values for the products that you carry? How do people
Mhm.
know that this meets, redemption markets criteria? What are those criteria?
Yeah.
So there's nothing inherently wrong about what you're doing. It's just not focused, right? Like it's kind of like it's almost there, but not quite yet.
Yeah. That sounds good. So in terms of differentiation, how do I set myself apart from other shops? It's going to be in that story
It's in the
then.
story and it's in you. So when I told you that that first newsletter needs to be about like, hey, welcome to my shop. Like this is who I am. Like this is like these are my values. This is why people shop from me. This is,
Mhm.
it's if you don't give people a chance to get to know you, they actually won't be able to self-select into being
Right.
a part of your tribe.
Yeah.
Right. I'll tell you just as much as like, you saw my videos and you're like, oh yeah, I want to talk to this person.
Right.
There are people who see my videos who are like, I don't want to talk to this person. like
Yeah.
like she's not my person, and that's fine too, right? Like it's not you're not there to you're not there to appeal to everybody, right? You're kind of there to be able to hone in on your specific target market, and I think that that's important. Sometimes as a small business we feel like we need to act and be like big businesses because we want to get more market share, and we think that looking like being a big business helps us get more, right? However, when you're a small business, right, and you kind of are authentically small and you put yourself forward, what actually happens is your tribe starts to grow organically. And those are people who have the highest customer lifetime purchasing, right? So
Yeah.
that means that, think of it in terms of advertising dollars. You could spend $10,000 on ads, target a huge wide market, get conversion, right? But they may not be repeat purchases, right?
Exactly.
Depending on who they were and what they purchased. Whereas if you build something a bit more strategically and organically and use ads in a smart way, you actually end up building higher repeat purchasing, much better customer lifetime value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's about you, Rhonda. It's ultimately it's
Yeah.
it's it's about you. And it's not about you in a way that's inauthentic. It's about you in a way that's like, clearly, and this is the truth with anyone who starts any business. Clearly you think highly of yourself to think that you have the taste and the expertise and the experience to curate and advocate and push for something.
Mm-hmm.
So you're already doing it, right? It's not like you're not. And you already think you can do it because you're already doing it. So there's no lack of capability, right? It's simply a matter of coming up with the strategic plan to be more intentional about pushing yourself out there in a more deliberate way.
Okay. So would you say, in terms of my product mix, that I should scale back on less categories at all?
It depends on how you're sourcing and the frequency of posting new stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
if you are, and depends on your inventory positioning on the existing items.
Right.
So like, and also like where your heart is. So if your heart is like, I love, or my customer loves, these kinds of products, right? Or our sell through on these categories are the highest, then I would say, great. You want to move your category direction into that of your customer, right? It's like you want to buy things your customer wants to buy.
Right.
So I would say, move your category development into that of your customer base. But then in terms of like inventory modeling, we really need to figure out like, okay, your sales goals too, and unfortunately I have to run, but it's like, are your sales goals that by which you have to sell, $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month? How many
Mm-hmm.
SKUs is that? What's the average unit retail? What's your average order value? Where are the categories that you're going to be able to do that? That's a kind of heavier analysis. I would say your first,
Engineering it to the same.
yeah, I think your first step though is to be like, how do I juice my low hanging fruit?
Exactly.
Right? Like, how do I kind of capture what I have now and make it better before like diving deeper into the analysis XYZ?
Right. Wow. Well, thank you so much. I feel like I have some really specific action points I can take now, and
I love what you're doing.
it's exactly what I needed. I needed fresh eyes on my site because, like I said, it just kind of grew around this pop-up shop. And so it's just a pop-up shop reflected on the website,
Yeah.
which isn't necessarily good for growth
or
online.
bad. You know, you have something, and I think you should feel good about what you have. It's neither good nor bad. It just is what it is. And now that you have some more information, you can
Mhm.
do something else.
Exactly. All right.
Awesome. Thanks, Rhonda. I'll talk to you later. Have a great weekend. Bye.